It's Brian Wilson alongside Larry O'Connor.
It was great. I got on at McPherson maybe half an hour ago, and I'm right here at Tyson's at the office doing the reverse commute, avoiding 66. It's great.
How much time did it save you?
It probably saved me about 10 minutes. It's not a huge time saving, but I was able to read, and that was probably the more important thing.
That is a brand new Silver Line commuter telling WUSA yesterday, as you heard, that I can read now and sit on the Silver Line instead of sitting on I-66. Of course, the problem here is that he can't hear WMAL's Mornings on the Mall. So I'm against this whole idea. But one man who is excited about the Silver Line's opening yesterday is Tom Davis, former Virginia congressman and, of course, a board member over at the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority Board of Directors. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Davis.
Hey, guys, good to be with you.
So you're taking listeners away from us with this fakakta little Silver Line of yours. What's your explanation?
Well, I think they can still take their transistors with them because the Silver Line runs for the most part above ground.
All right. You redeemed yourself with us. How did it go yesterday, though? Were you pretty pleased with that? Apparently, it went without a hitch.
The first day went great. And, Phase 2 is going to go 2 stops past Dulles Airport. So it's going to open up that whole corridor for rail. There's always been some controversy now, but, 20 years from now, people are going to look back and say, what was the controversy? They're going to be glad we did this.
It took a while to get it all straightened out, but it does seem that this the first couple of days have been, pretty flawless. Not a whole lot of problems. Are there been any surprises? And one of the things that I saw was that the heaviest station is the Wheelie Reston station. I think that was projected. Any other things that sort of stand out?
Well, no. Look, the Wheelie station is the terminus today. Eventually that will dissipate, and the folks coming in from Loudoun and that are parking there will find another spot to get on. But look, for Tyson's Corner, this just opens the whole thing up. We won't have to fight over a place to park at Christmas. This is, I think, just great.
Now, according to WUSA's Martin DeCaro, who reported on this, he says that more riders seem to move from the Orange Line trains and took the Silver Lines. It seems that you're bleeding people from the one line to the other, but are there any stats yet about how many cars have actually been taken off the road?
Well, I can just tell you anecdotally, driving the toll road yesterday, today, traffic has been a lot lighter. Look, it's going to take 2 or 3 months before we can get a read over what the actual ridership is going to be, and I think it will build over time. That's the way these things generally work. But I think there's no question over the short term there's going to be less traffic going in on the toll road. Sure, it'll take a little bit off the Orange Line, but it also takes some traffic off 66. What you need to understand, over the long term on this, is you're going to get densities built out in those areas too. So traffic has a way of evening out over 10, 15 years.
Yeah, you started our conversation here already talking about Phase 2, which, of course, would take the Silver Line past Dulles, as you mentioned. $2.9 billion spent on Phase 1. How much are you projecting Phase 2 is going to end up costing, and when will that be ready?
Well, it'll be in the same area. That'll be, about 3 years, we think. But look, the tolls are financing most of this. So when you look at this, there'll be a small federal component to Phase 2, basically done in something called a TIFIA loan. So you're going to see your commuters are paying the tab on Phase 2.
Did you learn anything in the first part that will help you with the second part?
I think we learned a lot. This was the first part of Metro's system that Metro didn't build. The Airports Authority did. This is not our skill set. Building rail, but having done part 1, I think Phase 2 is going to be run a lot smoother.
While we've got you, our guest, by the way, is Tom Davis, former Virginia congressman, and we're talking about Silver Line opening yesterday. But while we've got you, there was big news in the Commonwealth yesterday with the District Court of Appeals maintaining the overturn of the constitutional amendment that maintained that marriage was just one man, one woman. Do you think that this is a done deal now for Virginia? Is it a good thing that the courts are stepping in here, considering the people of Virginia voted for this amendment to the Constitution?
Well, they've been turning these referendums over just about everywhere. It's hard to think of any state at this point where the appeal hasn't gone the other way and overturned the referendum. So I think this will go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will be the final arbitrator at this point.
And how do you feel about it, personally?
Well, look, the courts are. My judgment on this is that the courts have taken this thing over because the body politics have been slow to respond, and we'll see what the courts end up doing at this point. Yeah, look, this has never been my battle in politics. I'm an economic conservative, and on these kind of issues, I think the world has evolved in terms of our attitudes on these issues.
Well, but as a fiscal conservative, there's another issue in the news that is affecting Virginia as well, and that is this border crisis. I'm sure you saw the brouhaha in Prince William County as the feds brought in a bunch of these unaccompanied minors who entered the country illegally and just sort of plopped them down there without letting any of the local governments know about it. The governor hasn't said anything about it. I mean, if you were in Richmond, would you be concerned about the feds coming in and just sort of bringing these kids in without letting the state know?
Let me give you two perspectives on this. If this were on the border in Jordan or some other country, we'd be sending USA to help these poor refugees. Okay? But it's on our border, we treat it a little bit differently. On the other hand, our border has been porous for some time. And if you don't have some border controls on this thing, it runs amok pretty quickly. You don't want to reward people and keep encouraging them coming over because economically it's not a very sound thing if you can't regulate your own border. Immigration is a good thing, but it needs to be regulated. And what we need is a high wall and a wide gate. We have neither right now.
Well, go ahead. No, what I was going to say is that what we're hearing from the president and the White House right now is that there may be some unilateral executive action taken that brings de facto amnesty to about 5 million of the people who are in this country illegally. How would you feel about that?
Well, I think that would be a huge mistake. I think it would be a political mistake. I think it would be a policy mistake at this point. Look, these are human beings. We want to treat them with appropriate dignity. These are kids. Some of them have parents, but I think that law needs to be that needs to be repealed. The law that we passed in 2008. It was passed for something other than this, and it just caused a huge backlog at the border. And I think a blanket amnesty or something like that would. I think it's going to cause them a lot of political problems. I don't think it's a good policy decision.
One more question about Virginia politics, Tom Davis. You'd be forgiven if you didn't see the debate between Ed Gillespie and Senator Warner on Saturday, since your Silver Line was opening at the same time there. Right. But I'm guessing you saw the coverage of it. How do you think Ed Gillespie did, and what do you think of the state of that race?
Well, I think right now I've missed the whole race. I mean, this race is really not engaged much. In some of these states, you have millions of dollars being spent back and forth. This race has not engaged yet. I've seen very little from either party. They've been raising money, but they certainly haven't spent it yet. So the debate got some coverage, but I think to most Virginians that they don't know there's a Senate race on yet. The difficulty for Gillespie at this point is Mark Warner has been governor. He's been a senator for 6 years. And nobody has really laid a glove on him in 10 years in terms of negative ads or negative publicity or the like. And time is closing on if he's going to make a move. It looks like a midterm election that is advantage Republicans. But this race is not yet engaged.
Yeah, I have a feeling that will change in the weeks to come.
Thank you for joining us, Tom Davis. And again, congratulations on the opening of Phase 1 of the Silver Line.
Okay, guys, thanks.
Thanks, Tom.